Van Jones and Joy Behar of The View had a disagreement on Bill Maher's show that I think is important to dissect. Let's watch and then we'll discuss.
It is bizarre to kind of see this. It's sort of like, in the morning, whatever they say on Fox and Friends, he tweets about it and they cover it and then he brags on them for covering it. That's weird. But I also think it's important for progressives and liberals to actually tune in sometimes. We've got to be able to get our tolerance level up for this kind of stuff, because otherwise what happens is we literally have no idea. Like our cousins and people we went to high school with, it's like these people are crazy because we're actually in our own bubble in a certain way because we're not listening to them.
Yes. I keep saying Democrats are too nice.
They're too nice.
They don't go, and you are my ally, right? They don't go for the jugular. You don't go for that. When they go low, we go high.
No, when they go low, we should go lower.
Exactly. Okay.
Listen, you're the first perpetrator of this. He wants the Kumbaya. Forget the Kumbaya. These people on that side are crazy. Don't you understand? They're crazy. Well, you don't deal with white supremacists. I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to you.
You can talk to him too. But yes, I mean, what happened to that gene in the Democrat makeup?
Okay, so there's a lot to say about that. I think there's two important points to make. Number one is, yes, in areas where you are, where there's not a question, I say all systems go, full court press, the best defense is a good offense, and take no prisoners. So in other words, yeah, when you talk about guys like Roy Moore or the jack-offs on Fox and Friends, who all they do is spew bullshit, they're not right about anything. A guy like Roy Moore who thinks being gay should be illegal. I mean, we're talking about people who are full-on fundamentalist Christian theocrats who want to see America be the Christian Saudi Arabia. When you talk about people like that, when you talk about people who are wrong on every economic policy and they try to pretend like, Trump's bill, which massively cuts taxes for the rich, is somehow good for poor people and middle-class people when it's not. When you talk about that 25 to 30% chunk of the American public that's TFG, son, too far gone. Yeah, all systems go. Don't hold back. You tell them what the truth is and you fucking slam them with it. And you say, no, you are 100% incorrect. The same people who say Obama's somehow a Marxist, Kenyan, yada, yada, yada. It's those people that have such a blatant, brazen disregard for the truth that there's no way that any amount of, reason or logic or rationality or good explanation is gonna change their mind. For those people, Joy Behar's right. Be totally unapologetic and just go balls to the wall. But here's where Joy Behar is wrong and where Van Jones is right. That's not all Trump voters. Among the corporate Democrats and the more Hillary Clinton wing of the party, the neoliberals, the corporatists, they have this tendency to try to say, literally, there is no such thing as a good Trump voter. That doesn't exist. They've written articles about that. They pretend like there's research to back that up. How the fuck could you even research that to try to back it up? No, there's no such thing as a good Trump voter. Well, okay, if that's your strategy, continue to lose every election from now until the end of time. Because from now until the end of time, if that's your strategy, get the people who we already have and don't get anybody else. Wonderful. There you go. So every election, you'll win the popular vote, but lose the electoral college because you're not swinging votes in the proper places. So if that's your strategy, perpetual losses and shaming people, you're not going to win. Now, here's the reality. It's fair to say anywhere from 25 to 30% of the country, maybe half or more than half, maybe even 60% of Republican voters, you could say, hey, man, look, it's just the facts show they're too far gone. Look at these disturbing poll results. And I might even agree with you on that. But you have to make an effort to get the other 40% of the Republican Party, or 50% at most. You have to make an effort to try to, look, I believe in populist left ideas. The polls show the American people believe in populist left ideas. So that means the point you have to make is let these people know you already agree with me whether or not you realize it. That's what you have to do. And with Joy Behar's approach, you're never going to do that. Van Jones is much more open to the idea of you got to try to get these people who voted against you. You can't say everybody who voted for Trump is a bad person because not everybody voted for Trump for the same fucking reason. If you're Richard Spencer or one of his jack-off buddies, sure, you voted for Trump because he said, let's have a total and complete shutdown of Muslims. And he said, let's do nationwide stop and frisk. You know, and he said, the Mexicans, they're criminals, they're rapists. I assume some are good people. If you're Richard Spencer, sure, you voted for Trump for those dumbass reasons. But if you're somebody whose job got shipped out because of NAFTA, which Bill Clinton fucking signed, and all you want is a factory job to make a decent living, and all of them are being shipped out, and Hillary's not saying dick about trade, and Trump is running on a populist trade message where he says we're going to keep jobs in America and bring them back here, well, that person is obviously voting for Trump for different reasons than Richard Spencer or a white supremacist did. And you have to make that distinction, which a lot of Democrats are not willing to do. Well, look, there was a report that came out that found that voters in the Rust Belt prefer populist Democrats, and they would vote for a populist Democrat over a Republican. When you give them the option of a Democrat, like a corporate Democrat, and a populist Republican, they go populist Republican. So the key element is populism. If the Democratic Party is populist, you can convince people who you didn't convince. There are many people who voted for Obama who ended up voting for Trump. Joy Behar's strategy is to shame them and say, hey, you're crazy! You're crazy! Great, well then keep shaming them and act like you don't give a fuck about them because you don't, and then you're not going to win their vote. Whereas if a populist comes along and says, no, I even though we may not agree on many things, guess what? I'm on your team. I want to keep your job here. I want to raise your wage. I want to bring back unionization. I want to make the middle class strong. I want to rebuild your community. If you do those things, then they'll go, yeah, I'm going to vote for this person. So two things are true at the same time. When there are people who are too far gone, go fucking balls to the wall and slam them. And I don't give a fuck about shaming those people. They deserve shame. They're too far gone. They're wrong about everything. Totally fine. But for fuck's sake, like 75% of the country is not too far gone. So you should be trying to build a coalition with that 75%. You should be trying to convince people who are convincible. And that's something Van Jones is right on and Joy Behar is wrong on.